Howdy, I am Julia.
And I'm Olivia.
Welcome back to the Hive. Or, if you're new, welcome. By clicking on this episode, you've entered our Hive, a space where we can all geek out about movies, TV, books, music, celebrities, and decide whether our topic of the week is a pop culture high or low. This is Hives and Lows.
Okay.
The elephant in the room.
Is that we're in the same room. That's what the elephant in the room is. This is not going to be a normal thing. However, we are in LA for a Hive event, so we're together.
We're together for the first time.
We met for the first time, and we don't hate each other. So
I know,
great.
it's
great. That would suck.
Especially with the bunk beds.
Yeah, these are bunk beds.
Guys, welcome to our new set.
Yeah, welcome to our new set. Just bunk beds. It's been real fun. I wish I could get this out so that I could show.
Oh yeah, how I gifted you. Do you want me to lift it?
Julia got me a gift, guys.
I did.
It's The Covenant, starring my favorite actor, Sebastian Stan. That second part wasn't a joke. However, the Covenant being gifted to me.
Yeah, I saw it at Goodwill, and I was like, I have to get this for Olivia.
Yeah, I'm a big Sebastian Stan fan. So,
and I have seen The Covenant.
Yeah,
and I feel like knowing someone else who also has.
Go watch The Covenant, guys. Maybe.
It's not streaming anywhere.
Don't go into it
expecting the best.
Don't go into it expecting for it to have aged well.
Oh yeah,
it's rough.
It's rough, buddy.
However, it's also the best thing we've ever seen. But that kind of leads in to what we're talking about today.
Yeah,
the Covenant, sort of. Not the Covenant, but
like
Sebastian.
Spooky movies.
And spooky movies. We're doing spooky movies today, guys.
For Halloween.
Yes. We saw a lot of things on this LA trip, including 4 Cybertrucks.
so many Venom posters.
Lots of Venom stuff. Like, to the point where I was like, it's gotta be a joke. Like I'm getting pranked. Like I know, like, because this is not the first time I've been in LA, so I definitely know that there's, like, a lot of promotion for movies and stuff all the time here. However, with Venom, I was like, everywhere I turn, I see him.
Yeah, because when I was in LA, it was the summer of Barbie. And
That's fun, though.
And even still, Barbie, like, wasn't, like, that. Like, they had creative ways of promoting it, like, on benches and stuff, and like one billboard.
Yeah, Venom, it's been literally every time I turn a corner, except for tonight. But every time I turn a corner.
Yeah, well, we were trying to find.
Yeah, we were trying to find them, and they would not pop up. And we were like,
this is the one time.
Yeah, here, let me move this closer to both of us.
Zive event.
So we're here in LA for a Zive event. If you don't know what Zive is, Zive Media is basically our production company. And we were here helping out. And it was a great opportunity for us to meet and for us to do a podcast episode and for us to do something that we want to do together, which is go to the movie theater and watch movies together. So we're going to be talking about that today. We saw some spooky movies for spooky season because we were like, oh, what do we do? Do we dress up? What do we do? And we just decided we're going to go watch some scary movies. So we saw 3 terrifying flicks for you guys.
Yeah.
And we're going to review them. It's going to be a review-a-palooza, a spooky review-a-palooza. And 3 very different scary movies. They're all different in the horror genre. Different niches. And the very first one that we saw was We Live in Time, starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. Spooky. Emotionally terrifying.
So, for those of you that do not know what We Live in Time is, it is, as we said, a film starring Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, and it goes through flashes of their characters' love story from past, present, future, all that kind of jazz, and just kind of going through their relationship. And we were warned going into this movie that it's gonna be
It's
emotional.
emotionally devastating, and yeah, it
Like,
was.
yeah, like even when the trailer happened and we saw Florence Pugh's like shaved head, we were like, oh no.
Oh no,
We're back.
we're about to get Fault in Our Stars.
We're about to transport back to 2012.
I'm about to get A Walk to Remembered. But yeah, oh yeah, we're gonna be talking about spoilers, so
Yeah.
it's just a thing. We're gonna be doing that.
Yeah.
So, I loved it,
Mhm.
but when I remember, well, the person behind us sobbing.
If you're watching this person behind us who was sobbing, we wish you the best.
Yeah, it was rough for you.
We were sobbing with you.
It was rough for
but-
all of us, but you were, and I feel so bad for you. That had to have been rough, but I loved this movie. Also, I'm a person who really likes flashes through time and like a story and stuff. We're Lost fans. So.
I think that's what made us like makes us immune to that kind of stuff, where we just kind of know what's going on based on.
Well, I was sold because I was like, oh, we're going to be flashing through time. Listen, I'm not a big romance fan with movies. However, if it ends sad, I love a romance movie. I don't know why. A Walk to Remember is one of my favorite movies ever. I love that movie. And it ends devastatingly. But... And then also Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh being in it. See, I have 2 tags on Letterboxd that are watched because of Andrew Garfield and watched because of Florence Pugh, and they were already set in there. So this movie was right up my alley.
Yeah, but I kind of want to talk about what you were saying about the flashes, because like I think some movies don't understand how those kinds of flashbacks work. I think certain media is like, oh, we'll just have a random flash here, rather than thinking about, okay, how are we going to transition this well? And I think one of the best films to do it, which is one of your favorites, is Little Woman 2018, where I feel like 19. The 19, thank you. 1 year off. The transition between the emotional side of things to like just the emotions and or opposite of what was going on, it transitions well, and I think We Live in Time also does a brilliant job of that. And also I think it was, at least in my opinion, pretty easy to follow about which time period.
For sure, they had a lot of visual cues. Obviously, if Florence's head was shaved, then that was post illness.
Yeah.
Well, not post illness. During illness
treatment.
And then during pregnancy, obviously Florence was pregnant, so there was that, but also Andrew had the stopwatch on.
Oh my god.
And then they're selling that.
They really are.
A24 is selling the stopwatch, but his face is on it.
I want that. I guess I gotta go back to the A24 store and order that.
Yes.
But, yeah.
That's sick. Yeah. It's just I felt like it was easy, and then like Florence had the bangs.
Yeah.
And
I think they also gave enough context, and the way that they introduced the scenes, like each scene first or whatever, like how they ordered the scenes, I think helped also. Because I think to have the context for everything, they had to be in a certain order for you to understand it.
Yes.
And
their character names are Tobias and Almut, by the way. Oh,
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So we don't just start calling them Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield.
We might be talking about, like their acting, and then I don't want to like confuse.
Yeah.
With,
like Florence Pugh having kids or
yeah. Tobias and Almut are their names.
Okay. But like, but I also really like, they also did a lot of misdirects, which I like. Cause like in the beginning of the, well, in the beginning, there was some point where you're, at least in my, maybe not to you, but for me, when Tobias is signing his divorce papers, because I don't think they ever said Almet's name at that point. So I was like, oh no, they're getting a divorce. And the
I
movie has
don't
barely
remember.
started.
No, I don't remember thinking that because I think the wife's name might have been on the divorce
Yeah,
papers.
maybe I was just thinking,
I don't know. I wasn't.
but I was kind of like, this is an interesting misdirect because then he gets hit by her car and then that's how they meet.
Maybe I was wrong and they didn't have
No, I'm probably
the wife's
wrong.
name in there. Yeah, that was. Yeah. They. What was another one that you were gonna say? You said that there were a couple misdirects.
There was a couple that I'm trying to remember, but like also like the scene where his dad is preparing him to go to the dinner with like to go to her restaurant, and you can kind of tell, like, you're like, okay, he's putting on a suit, he's shaving the back of his head, and you can kind of tell that he's getting ready to go somewhere, and we already had in the story that he was invited to her restaurant. So like we already knew where that was going to go and how that fit into like the puzzle piece of it.
Yeah, but we also because he doesn't have very many visual cues, so I think it was also good because we had also already known by that point that she was sick. So I think that it was like, is this restaurant meeting? Is this funeral? What is
Yeah.
this? Yeah.
No, and then I think that's why I think starting off with the film starting off with them getting the results of her cancer. Is that correct? I think it starts off that way. Because they begin like kind of in the middle of their lives, at least in the film sense.
Right.
And also like setting up the cancer treatment.
Yeah, they
It
also
kind of sets up it.
dropped a hint because this is the second time.
Right.
They also kind of dropped that hint in there because she says, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
Um,
Which she didn't, did she, yeah, because she did something with her ovaries, correct? She freezes. Ooh.
she got rid of I think she got rid of like one like side or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And they were like it's going to be harder to get pregnant.
Oh, because of that. Because originally I thought it was because about her dad. That's how I also took it.
Okay.
But that she knew how stressful
it
was with her dad. But
because they have like a conversation in the kitchen about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the daughter was so cute.
That daughter was so cute.
Oh my gosh, the birth scene.
I'm so glad that's what the thing that I really liked about this movie is that everything was kind of like normal people go through that.
Yes.
Like it felt like so raw, which I don't think a lot of like romantic dramas kind of do correctly.
No, it was so great because it really did. It was like, I think movies struggle with like finding a balance between like what is the wildest, craziest thing we can do and like what is like the most normal, like slice of life sort of deal. This movie mixes it like great. Like of course they have the meet cute where she hits him with the car, but then like it's pretty normal but like in a very like compelling way, and then the birth happens and that's wild.
Yeah.
Because it's not in a hospital, guys. It is in like a gas station bathroom.
Yeah, and also like I feel like that happens to a lot of people sometimes where they're on their way to the hospital.
It does, yeah. And people are like, "Oh, I thought it had poop." But
yeah,
it ended up being the baby.
Yeah, and then I also really liked that they weren't married.
Yeah, no,
for a lot of it.
They weren't married at all.
Oh yeah, they don't get married at all.
They don't get married.
Yeah, so he was like, my partner is about to give birth.
yeah, them trying to kick the door down
was amazing. I think also the comedic timing of both like all not both, even all the actors had really good
Yeah.
comedic and emotional timing.
Yeah, it was good. Them trying. So there's the scene where they're trying to tell their daughter that that Alma is sick, and so they are at this like diner, and this guy keeps coming over, like the waiter keeps coming over and trying to do like a trick to the daughter, and they keep being like, okay, go away,
Like, please, this is important. And then Tobias like
yeah, like yells.
screams at him. And I was like, Andrew.
It's so funny. It's
It's so
so good.
funny.
It's so good. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie thoroughly, and I like. Oh my gosh, the first like I was tearing up throughout, but the last ice rink on from them
Yeah.
leaving the competition and going to the ice rink throughout the end of the movie was just tears.
Yeah, and I really also like because the whole kind of thing I really liked Almit's like storyline because we kind of don't really get to see that in a lot of like rom coms in a way, or not rom coms, but like movies that kind of end with cancer and stuff like that. Like Fault in Our Stars, like yes, Hazel has cancer, but she's not the one that ends up dying.
Mm-hmm.
Or Walk to Remember, the main character's what's his name, Landon or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But like for this one, she's going through her own struggles of like, I want my daughter to be to see me as a person and all this stuff. And I really like the ending that she at least does the cooking competition, like she does
Mm-hmm.
half of it, and then she's like, but I also want to be with my family, and she
Yeah.
does both. So I think that's a great thing that they did.
Yeah, I thought that was really well done. I really love I liked Almit's story too because I think like of course I would never know like at this point in time, and like knock on wood never, but like if I was like sick or whatever, I feel like I would want that too. I feel like I would have the fear of being like forgotten and like all that like she does as well.
Yeah.
And like being only thought of as like one thing
Yeah.
and stuff. I think that was like a super important thing um
Yeah.
to tell through this story. I really loved it. It was
Yeah.
nice. And then I also think like it's nice to have like I don't know, I feel like Tobias as a character was very like not that we see a lot in with like romantic leads that are men.
Mhm.
You know, like I feel like he was very like sensitive
Mhm.
and like very emotional, but like in a very real way. Like I
Mhm.
didn't feel like he was like sometimes when they do that with men, they make them very like meek and like I feel
Yeah.
like that was not Tobias, but it was like very real.
Yeah. And then he also had a great relationship with his dad too.
Yeah.
Like that's sweet. Like he had a good relationship with his dad, and then Amit had like this kind of big family
Mhm.
that also but didn't have a dad, so kind of like they both coexist with that. Also, just to go on with your point about no, Mike, to go on your point about the forgottenness of it, I think it was really good that they ended not with her dying. Well, like it ends. The movie ends with like them like we don't know how many months or years after she has passed, but like the one thing that we see them doing is how to crack an egg, which she taught him, and I think that's a really emotional and like metaphorical thing for that because that shows my mom was a cook, which
Mhm.
she wanted to be known for, but also like her memory is alive and they're cooking. So like it's
Yeah.
not like she's scared of cooking, which is really sweet.
Yeah, and then the all of the like sad whimpers in the room whenever the dog came on screen because in the beginning they were talking about um they were like joking about like oh should we get a dog because like they say that like what was it like they say that
They
like
say that
if you
kids
get a dog uh whenever somebody is like sick or whatever then it like helps them process death earlier, like
Yeah.
when the pet dies, so that they are prepared to process, other deaths. Um, so whenever she gets her cancer diagnosis, that's what they're talking about. And then at the very end, the first thing that we see when the door opens is a dog come in. And then the sad whimpers across the room because it's
Everyone's
like,
like,
oh, she's
oh,
dead.
dead.
Like, it was just like literally like a verbal reaction. We didn't have, it was not a packed theater that we were in. And literally the verbal reaction from everybody was just like, oh.
We were all like, just didn't. We were all. I don't think.
I feel like in all 3 movies that we saw, we were trauma bonded.
Yeah, I think
with
so
the rest
too.
of the theater.
That is why all of these movies are collected together for a spook.
Yes, this was
spooky.
Emotionally terrifying. I believe my Letterboxd review was ouch.
Yeah,
because it really did hurt.
It did hurt.
I loved it though. What did I give it?
I gave it a 4. I think you gave it the same thing.
I think I probably also gave it a 4.
Yeah. I do think it had some pacing issues, but other than that, I think I really liked it.
Yep. I had ouch. Oh yeah, the cooking competition made me very anxious. Mm-hmm. Any competitions in movies and stuff, even if it's stuff I don't care about, I will be on the edge of my seat. And them putting the things on the, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Them plating at the end. They show it a few times how they're not very fast with it. And it was stressing me out the entire movie.
I think because of my years of watching Top Chef, that has prepared me to watch that and be like, right. But yeah. I totally understand it. And also in addition, like at the end of not the end of the cooking competition, but in the middle of it, you can see her hand shaking, mm-hmm. and you're kind of like, let the other person do it, because she's very much of a person.
That was so sweet, their friendship too.
I loved
the friendship between Alma and then, oh gosh, what was the name of the partner?
I don't know.
For the competition,
all I know,
Jade. Yes, so Alma has a partner in the competition, in the cooking competition, and Jade took over, and it was a very sweet moment. And then Jade also shaved their head.
It was great.
Oh my gosh, it was so sweet. And then the wedding situation, that was a whole thing in the movie. Yeah, where he was concerned with the wedding, and she didn't tell him that she was doing the cooking competition.
Oh, and then he had to throw away all those.
Oh my gosh, that almost got me.
No, me too. I was like, oh, that's rough.
That almost got me. Anytime he cried in this movie, I was like, Andrew Garfield, you son of a gun. You got me again. Yeah. Emotionally spooky. Which is, we live in time of pop culture high or pop culture low?
I think it's a high.
I think it's a pop culture high.
I think it's a high.
It's Andrew Garfield and it's Florence Pugh.
And also it's a good, well done made film. The only thing that I would say is low is the sadness.
The sadness was pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fun. Until the end. I thought it was good. And I thought there were a lot of silly moments.
Yeah.
Them when they thought that the baby was coming and they were boxed in with their car was boxed in on the side of the road.
And they were literally gearing up, and the person's like, you guys are only 2 millimeters.
Yeah, they hit a car. They hit a car trying to get out to go to the hospital, and it wasn't even time for the baby.
And also what I really like is that all that kind of stuff, they just laugh about it.
Yes, I loved that. Nothing was too, all the mistakes that they made, nothing was too serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was stuff like that. I feel I don't know, can get taken way out of control in real life, and I feel it's a good lesson.
Yeah.
That stuff is just it's not what's important. It could be stressful, but it's not what's important. And I like all that. I loved that.
Me too.
It was a nice movie. Pop culture high for
Yeah,
that
as
one.
we
For
used
our
to.
first spooky movie. The second spooky movie we saw.
So before we get into this, everyone, we went to this movie because, as we established earlier in this episode, Olivia is a huge Sebastian Stan fan. So what she has to do is that watch anything he's in, like The Covenant, and then yeah. So the second spooky movie we saw was The Apprentice. Now, if you don't know what this movie is, it's essentially the story, the kind of biopic of Donald Trump from the 90s,
The 70s.
the 70s, thank you. I don't know my time periods. To the early 2000s, late 2010s,
Maybe like late 80s.
late, yeah. So, but before you're like, why are you seeing this film? uh like, not just because of Sebastian Stan, it's also supposed to be very much of a satire of his,
Yes.
of him as a person.
Yes.
Because I remember when you were telling me this, I was like, who's doing the film? And then
Ali Abbasi he directed it, and he is a genius for this.
yeah,
Honestly. Honestly. But whenever I saw he was doing it, I was like, I trust it. I was
yeah,
like, I got it. I
yeah,
trust it.
no, anytime that we had to explain that, we were like, it's this guy, and they were like, oh, okay. So um but I thought it was a really interesting film. I
Yeah,
thought, yeah.
we were saying, oh yeah, this is scary for obvious reasons, by the way, but it was truly a jump scare every time I had to see Sebastian as Donald Trump on screen. So, very spooky, very scary.
It was a jump scare. What was it? The Twin Towers being
like 4 times the Twin Towers were mentioned, and every time I literally had a reaction, I was like,
no.
But yeah, we were saying earlier today that like the more that we think about this movie, the more we like it. And like I didn't dislike it or anything at all coming out of the movie. It's just that the more that I think about it, the more that I like it. You know what, my boy did a great job.
No, he did. He did a really good job.
He did a great job, and I'm just like, hey, I've been telling y'all for years to not sleep on this man. And y'all are just catching up.
I'm sorry, Olivia. But yeah, because I was a little worried about it. But then when I saw the first trailer or the first clip, and you hear his kind of like voice, you're like, okay, he's not doing a full impersonation. He's doing, like, you can hear it a little bit. And I'm sure he probably studied, because you said he had like so many clips on his phone.
He said he had like 500 videos and pictures of Donald Trump and stuff on his phone, and was like just listening to him nonstop and stuff.
That's
and
so sad.
Like...
but also as the film goes on, he gets more and more deeper into
what we
know
of Donald Trump,
of what we know of him. And I think it goes really well with the story that was being told within the story, because what also is super important to the story is, was it Roy Cohen?
Yeah. Yes, Jeremy Strong played Roy Cohen and played him brilliantly as somebody who knows, because my dad's into like the 70s and stuff, so I know quite a bit about Roy Cohen, and yeah, Jeremy Strong did a great job.
Yeah, Jeremy Strong
interesting man.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really interesting about this movie, is that I think it does a really good job of like, because I feel like with a lot of biopics, even if they're doing biopics of like people that are like they're very much like, especially if they do someone that's like very well liked, they'll like put them in like this person is the best thing to ever happen ever. And I think with this one, It's like the Social Network movie, which I
Yeah.
like.
Yes.
Um,
Well, yeah, it's so good.
I love this.
So
Well,
good.
besides the one thing,
Andrew Garfield again.
my Prada's at the cleaners, along with my hoodie. But I also think what's great about the Social Network is you're like, you're watching the movie, you're like, yeah, he's an asshole. Like we know, like, and that's being told through the movie.
Yeah.
I will say I don't like how the Social Network ends, where she's like, "You're not an asshole, Mark. You just think you are, or you're trying to be." And I'm like, "No, he's an asshole." But I think the opposite side of that for the Apprentice is that like you see that transition, and he's still like bad even.
It's strange because you literally are watching like I was explaining like a supervillain origin story like unfold, because truly it's like at the beginning, I mean, I'm not going to say I was feeling bad or like any sympathy for Donald Trump. However, at the beginning you're like, it's like the little wins and stuff that
Yeah,
you're like, okay, okay, and then it takes just like
yeah,
sharp turn, and you're just like,
yeah,
Jesus.
because you can like tell like where he came from, where he was in the family, what he was doing with the family, but also like it wasn't like that they were like, guys, he was a good guy,
Yeah, it was not like that at all.
it was not like that at all. Like
No.
what was literally the thing that he goes to Roy Cohen about is
Yeah, it's
because he's
because him and his dad weren't they weren't renting to black tenants
yeah.
at their, yeah.
So like it's like that where it's like obviously.
Sorry, I just don't
No,
want
you're so good.
Okay.
But anyway, I thought it was great. Oh, what's her name? Who's the actress that plays?
Maria, yeah, Maria Bakalova. Maybe
Good
I'm not
job.
pronouncing that correctly,
She
but
did great,
she was
Ivana.
Ivana Trump. She was great.
Yeah,
She did such a good job. She was in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. That actress. Uh, yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's got to be hard to play these people. Oh,
yeah,
it's got to be hard to play. Like these real life people, especially. I don't know. I feel like it's especially hard because it was the 70s.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, I guess I don't know how much footage is available to like study.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. But I feel like everybody did a good job. I don't feel like anybody was like a caricature,
Mm-hmm.
which was really nice and like refreshing, specifically for Trump. Like, not for, but like, as Sebastian playing Trump, that was refreshing to not be seeing like an impersonation, a caricature. Because I was like, okay, I'm watching a real life person, which is the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a film, especially. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and I think it tells the story well of kind of that transition. And it wasn't until Olivia said something while we were talking about the movie to someone where you were like, yeah, because someone mistake that we watched the actual Apprentice TV show, and we were like, no, 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 the Apprentice movie. And Olivia goes, yeah, because originally Trump was the apprentice to Cohen. And I was like, oh, that's why they named it that. I just thought it was because
Okay.
of the TV show.
I'm not that smart, guys. What really happened was that I've watched so many interviews because I am a Sebastian Stan fan that I was just like, okay, I'm taking what they're saying and like what him and Jeremy Strong are saying, and yeah. Yeah, I thought it was going to be way more painful for me to see Sebastian like that as a fan.
Yeah.
It wasn't though, for the most part. At the beginning, it was jarring.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, because, like, I don't know. I just felt like, I've been a fan for a very long time, since 2011. So since I was 11, and Yeah, it's just like, aw, look at him.
Look at him go.
Look at him doing amazing things. And I told y'all, and I was here, and and I told you guys, welcome to the party. You're late.
Thank you for inviting me. Sorry
Yeah.
that I'm
Yeah.
11 years old.
Yeah. Like, obviously, I'm a big fan. It's my Bucky shirt is on, and like, put it on just for this. So
Yeah.
yeah. I thought it was great. I thought it was great. I thought it was interesting. I heard them talking about how like um taking uh Ivana's like
Okay.
accounts from way back when before she dropped everything. Uh Trigger warning for assault, by the way. Um like sexual assault. But she I feel it's like interesting that they said like they're gonna take what she initially said and not take what she walked back. I think that that's very, I don't know, like brave of the
Yeah.
filmmakers to do, because you could easily just like take what she backtracked instead. But I don't know, it was, I don't know, it was very, because I've seen all of that and I've read what she said, and it's like, I mean, that they did it in the film exactly how she said it went down with the assault and everything, like with the book that she got him. And yeah, so it was, I don't know, I think that it was everything that with her was well done, I felt like.
Yeah. And also, like, like, sometimes I watch films that are like how they portray women no matter what, and like the way that she, not just as a character but also how she's shot in that like scene is like good, because like obviously that's a hard scene to kind of film, and like obviously like her power is being taken away from her in such a terrible way, but she's also on screen not being sexualized, because I feel like a lot of filmmakers do that with some scenes like that. But I
Yeah.
trust the filmmaker that made this film that he would not do that.
Yeah, the way it was done, I didn't feel like obviously it's supposed to make you uncomfortable and like disgusted, but like I didn't feel like I couldn't sit through it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like that with like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't go on forever.
Yes.
And that is what I do not get it whenever it's usually horror movies that have those sorts of like sexual assault scenes, but like with with that one it didn't go on for too long. I felt like I wasn't seeing as enough to where I was like this feels wrong
Yeah, and also
morally.
yeah, and also it was I don't
Not the assault, I mean like how it was shot. It
yeah,
doesn't feel wrong.
because I feel like they never showed, I don't think, his face while he was doing that to her.
They showed it for like a second because he was talking.
Yeah, but like I think because it was so focused on her and what she was going through because of that pain and stuff, it was more of a focus on her as a character. Also, I really liked that she had her kind of own life, because I don't know anything about these characters. Like, not gonna lie,
Yeah,
I did not.
she was a model, and then she turned into an interior designer. So, but yeah, she did have her own life. It wasn't like, I didn't feel like, like she's there too. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't just like he's there and oh yeah, she's there too. It felt like when she wasn't on screen, I'm like, I'm sure she's doing something. Like I'm just like, she's got a life, which I liked, because like sometimes when people aren't on screen serving like the protagonist, I'm just like not thinking about it. But
Mhm.
like anytime she wasn't on screen, I'm just like, I was thinking like, oh, she's probably just doing whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking care of her kids, doing interior
Yeah.
design, whatever.
Speaking of her, I thought it was really interesting that there's a shot of, it's like the first scene where he sees her and he paid for her bill or something, and she looks up at him and he's looking at her the same way that Roy Cohn looked at him in the movie.
Yeah. This movie is a horror / romantic comedy. And the romance is between Trump and Roy Cohn in the beginning. At the end, though, not so much. At the end, they've gone through a breakup.
like damn, Jeremy Strong.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeremy Strong, man, he did so good.
The back of his head did so well too.
He was the way he was. He really got good at just sitting like that, huh? The way he sat, and it was such a specific way that he would sit and stand. That was so good.
Oh yeah, and also, I mean, sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
Well, because obviously, like we've discussed, like you knew more of the history behind this. I didn't, so like it was interesting to see his story unfold because I could kind of tell something was up when the AIDS protesters were doing stuff, and he kind of wasn't really responding.
He felt like uncomfortable. Yeah,
yeah, and then he never admitted that he had AIDS even until he died.
He never admitted that he was gay. Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was an interesting fella for sure.
Yeah, and I think that what creates the intrigue of not studying, but like looking at these people and being like, okay, what's going on and how? And also speaking of him, like AIDS and his death, I thought it was really interesting where you could tell, like, Trump did not give a shit about him. Like towards the end of his days, like asking his doctor about AIDS. They frame this so beautifully. This is also what made it a horror film for me. So Roy's death happens. Everyone's at his funeral except Trump.
Yeah, you don't ever see him there, and I don't know if in real life he went or he didn't or whatever the case may be, but yeah, we never see him there. And then oh my gosh, the birthday dinner that's when I felt like it was a horror movie. Like I felt like we had jumped ship from being in like Trump's shoes to being in Roy's shoes, and it was like all of a sudden very scary. Like you could like his anxiety was like, and then when uh Ivana is telling him that the cufflinks are like
Fake.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That sucks.
Oh my gosh. And like, look, Roy was not a good guy.
No,
like,
absolutely not.
But like, you know, when you're framing it that way in the movie and you're in his shoes now, it's like very much like you need to get out of this situation.
Yeah.
like yeah.
And then how the movie frames his death is with Trump getting a fix up on his scalp and then getting rid of some of his body fat, which I think is very interesting. And especially as God Bless America plays in the background, which I find very interesting. I think that's great. I think it's an interesting way of editing it.
Yes, and what I also think is so interesting is with this movie, if you are an American citizen and you were here during Donald Trump's hopefully first and final presidency, then you really understand, I guess, like him taking Roy Cohn's rules into even now, which they are attack is rule number 1. Rule number 2 is admit nothing, deny everything. Rule number 3 is no matter what happens, you claim victory and never admit defeat.
I think that's a good thing to end.
I mean, like that's so because it's so like they don't push real hard into it, which is what I like. Like we don't see him past late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
So we don't see him in the movie dip into 2016 or anything. So it's like, I don't know, you got to take it with you. It's very eerie. The end
Yeah.
of that movie is very eerie, even though we know what happens because we're living in the present time. But it's like, I don't know, it feels very eerie. It really does. I mean, we initially were like, oh, the funny joke that like these aren't really scary movies, and
But like,
but it genuinely ended off like being a scary movie in the best way like possible. Like it felt very eerie, and I just feel like even though they didn't intend for this movie to come out at this time, I feel like it's an important movie
yeah.
to come out at this time.
Yeah, and I also think going on to like the presidency and stuff, it was interesting how they framed it because obviously, like you said, we don't see him through the 2016, but we do see the presidents that came before him and how that kind of affected the world and also showed who he liked. And I think that's very telling on him as a president, on who he really likes.
From a filmmaking standpoint, also, I pointed this out to you like in the movie. Yeah, it's so interesting because at the beginning you really do feel like you're watching something from the 70s, like quality wise, and then the quality like changes. Maybe this was just me who picked that out, or like
no,
whatever.
I also did.
Or maybe I'm crazy because sometimes I am crazy and I come up with things in my head that just like were not a thing. But I do feel like the quality shifted with the time, which really helped like with like for people who do have trouble like processing like what time is when in movies, because we do jump through decades of time. I feel like that was like a nice sort of visual way to do that, which was good. Yeah, and then Sebastian does this thing subtly with his acting where it's like at the beginning you're like, this could just be some dude, and then at the end you're like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, got it. You give it like 10 more years and it's like now we're at this moment. Well, maybe not this new era of Trump, because he's kind of gone now. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, yeah, it ended up being a super villain origin story. But some Trumpies like it.
Yeah, just
some Trumpies admire that situation, which is an interesting thing to take away from that movie. But you know what? Okay, I guess.
See, here's the thing. As I said to you when you told me that, I'm like, it's just the Fight Club American Psycho thing where they just don't know how media literacy works.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what's very interesting in that movie too is that they're never like very like super leaning super hard into being like negative about it. So it is like you can come away with your own assumptions, but I think it is it's kind of like a, do you really want to be around a person who took good things from this movie?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, yeah, it's like a good people tester, this movie.
Just being like, hey guys, you should watch this. What did you get from it?
Yeah, so what did you pick out from it? Did you like anybody in the movie?
And
you,
if
you
so,
take away any lessons from Roy in that movie?
Yeah, I thought his rule about attack.
Yeah. Deny everything.
Deny everything.
Deny. As a wise man once said, Roderick Heffley from the Diary of Roderick Heffley and Roy Cohn have the same rules of life.
I thought you were gonna say his line where he says, "I'm sorry, woman."
Oh no.
I know.
He's like, deny.
Roderick, what are you doing in this photo? That's not me.
That's not me.
That's okay. Roderick in that scene where he's like, where the father is like pressing through and he's like, Roderick, what are you doing in this photo? That's not me. That's not you. Yep.
That's not me.
It's Trump walking in on Roy having sex with men, and he's like,
that's not me. That's not you. That's not me. Yeah. Overall, pop culture
The
high,
high-
pop culture low. The Apprentice.
The-
I think. Well, I want to vote post-election.
Yeah, hold on. Whoa. Come back to us. Okay, there you go. Here.
We did it.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like we will decide. I can decide. Hello,
Camera.
Like, I can decide if this is a pop culture high or a pop culture low after the election.
I agree with that.
I right now it's a pop culture high for me. I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Overall, I enjoyed. Everybody did so good, and you know what? Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong, if your people are not doing a good enough job at Oscar campaigning, I'm right here.
So real.
I am right here. And I'm gonna fight for you guys.
But it's interesting that because I know that A Different Man, another Sebastian Stan movie, was getting paired with our next film on this list, but instead we paired it up with The Apprentice.
This movie, this next movie, is not a joke. It is a genuine horror movie, and this is my second time I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this next movie is The Substance, which just so good.
Yeah, I feel like I know that we were giving summaries to these films. I feel like The Substance just don't go in without knowing anything besides like if you don't like body horror, it's not your movie. But like just go into it without knowing anything about it, and I think you're in for a treat.
Yeah, you will really trauma bond with the rest of the theater with this movie. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you that because the last 20 minutes of that movie, it's just like, listen, I've seen it twice, and seeing it for a second time, at some point I just started laughing because I knew it was coming, and it was not like a laugh like haha so funny. It was a laugh like, oh Jesus, I'm gonna have to do this again.
Yeah, like I think it's also it feels like a dark comedy.
Oh yeah,
kind of thing. So I think
yeah. I was surprised that more people weren't laughing. I mean, it was upsetting.
Yeah, but like sometimes people laugh when they're upset too, or they don't know how to react.
Yeah, I mean the movie's terribly sad. However, there are moments that are just comedy gold.
Yeah.
But also my favorite, I think something that's been playing in my mind, which I didn't tell you, is ever since I saw the movie, the cut to from Elizabeth in the shower to Sue screaming, "Control yourself," has been in my head. I don't know why, but the way she says it, the way that Margaret Qualley says that is like so good. By the way, Substance starring Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley.
And then Dennis Quaid, who definitely is just playing himself.
You know what? He probably liked The Apprentice for the wrong reason.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. He probably did. Yep.
Yes. But The Substance. Oh my gosh.
It's we were talking about this after the film. I think it's a good movie that has an overall kind of metaphor and theme, but does not knock you over the head with it.
I would say that some people could argue that it does, but for me it didn't feel overbearing. Like I do think that some people really did think that like, okay, we get it, but like I don't know. For me, it didn't feel like, I feel like because they were showing, not telling.
Yeah.
That's why it wasn't that crazy for me.
Yeah, and I think also in addition, it just made sense plot wise. Like everything is introduced in the way that it's somehow like the idea of like she's taking her beauty away like with her age and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like that makes sense to me because
Oh,
that
yeah.
goes like there has to be a balance, and that's like, but that's just
Yes.
me personally.
I
Where
felt like the substance, like the actual injection and like all that stuff, I felt like that was so different than what I've seen before that has similar stuff. Like usually it's just like you turn into something like different, but like no, how it works is that you take the injection and then you give birth essentially to a newer, better version. That just reminded me of uh, Michael in the bathroom, where he's like a newer, cooler version of me.
no.
Anyway, theater kid break for a second. That was embarrassing. But yeah, you basically give birth to a newer, cooler version of you, and um, I've never seen it like that before, where like you're separated, sort of, kind of, because you are one, but you have to switch off between your older self, the Matrix, which is what they call it. Your original self is the Matrix, and then the newer version of you.
Yeah.
Um, I like that.
Yeah,
I
I do
liked that a
too.
lot, and I liked that that created, stakes,
Yeah.
because like they don't want, or I guess Margaret Qualley's character, who was the newer version of, it was Elizabeth and Sue, and Elizabeth is the Matrix, the original, and Sue is the newer version. And what?
I just realized the characters' names together is Elizabeth Sue. Well, but it sounds like Elizabeth Shue, who was an 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I just realized that. Sorry.
No,
I
you're
was
good.
like, Adventures in Babysitting, lady. Anyway, continue.
But I forgot what I was saying.
Oh no. Elizabeth Sue, they Margaret Qualley's character.
Yeah, oh yes, that Sue wanted to keep being Sue, but the catch is that you have to switch off every 7 days or else it doesn't work. Like you have to respect the balance, is what they keep saying. So your consciousness kind of switches between your Matrix original self and then your like newer version. So that's why you have to switch off. So I found that to be very interesting. Um because I guess you would kind of separate that, even if it is your like consciousness, like going, switching
Yeah.
between. I guess I would, like, if I'm thinking about myself and I were to do that, then it's like, yeah, I would feel like I'm a different person. And you're taking from yourself,
Yeah.
but it's like weird, like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. And I also found it interesting that, like, we never really see the like company, the substance like
Yeah.
company.
Well, because I think it's really interesting because it's one of those things where the technology itself, like, obviously, is essentially just everyone in this world where they think beauty and stuff is important. So that's the reason why they made this.
Right.
And that's so they just exist around with like the TV execs and stuff like that. So I think, like you said, that's interesting. And also, they don't want to get sued because, like, essentially, like, if something like that were to happen, like, if they were to do something with a lawsuit in that, they'd be like, yeah, she didn't listen to us, which sucks
Yeah.
because that's because people would take their beauty
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and it's not her fault and this character's fault. It's because of the world
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah, I mean, you feel bad. I mean, she did do it to herself.
Yeah.
But you do feel bad for her because
Mhm.
it's like she was pushed to take the substance and do this. I didn't even feel like Sue was like a bad
No.
was like the bad guy, even though she does end up killing Elizabeth at the end, spoiler alert. But and then essentially killing herself because they are one
Yeah.
and they were not respecting the balance.
Yeah, and I think it's also the whole thing with like how a lot of women are pitted against each other,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that it affects and hurts them more than other people, especially in like male dominated
Yeah,
spaces.
as my letterbox review for this movie says, Alexa, Playgirl So Confusing by Charlie XCX. Because that's essentially what this movie is. Um, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of body horror, so I was living it up both times I saw this. I was like, yes. um,
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a huge body horror fan. I do like it when it's used in something like there's a reason why this film is a body horror. It makes a lot of sense for that. But also like the film lets you know that it's going to be like that through its editing, its sound design, and also its
yeah,
shots.
you don't feel unprepared. Like it's not like, I mean, it is shocking, but you don't feel like, oh my gosh, this has taken a complete like 180 and it's insane now. Like yes, it is insane. But it's not like I felt like, oh my god, like whenever the birth of Sue is happening, it is like overwhelming and like shocking, but it's not like I wasn't prepared for this. Like the close-ups of Dennis Quaid eating and peeing and stuff at the
Yeah.
beginning, I was like, I feel like this prepared me enough to sit through that and not be like, oh my god, I like what the hell? So like, I don't know. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like they did such a good thing. And also I didn't even find truly I found the most disturbing moment to be when she's getting ready for the date.
Yeah, I was also I don't know if you heard me being reacting to that, but I was like
Yeah, I did hear you.
I so she's
For
getting ready.
context,
Yeah, for context, this is the scene where she's getting ready for a date with a guy that
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth, sorry.
you're good.
Elizabeth is getting ready for a date with a guy, I think his name was Fred, that she met earlier, that
They went to school
they went to
together.
school together, and she decides to call him, and she's like really excited because like he makes her feel like he's a nice guy, like, and I know I just said that in the weirdest way
No,
possible,
no, no. He's like a genuine,
genuinely
yeah.
nice guy, and giving her compliments and all this stuff and like really respecting her as a person.
Yeah, she's like, he's the only person throughout the movie who has made her feel good about herself as when she's not Sue, you know?
Yeah, so she's getting ready for the date, and she's getting ready in this outfit that she feels very confident in, she feels very good in, and she's about to go on the date, and then she sees Sue's
Billboard.
billboard right outside her window, which is also like just it comes in and out various, but like
Oh my gosh, this all would have been solved if she had moved. If she had moved, then this movie wouldn't need to happen. No.
yeah. But she like then decides to change herself up to make herself look younger, and I kept being like, no, you look great.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I heard you. Yeah, you were like, no. When she put the scarf on and like stuff, I was like, oh no.
no.
And like her being so like feeling so upset. And I think it hit me so hard because I was like, I felt like that before.
No, yeah.
Where like I'm going out and then I'm like, no, nothing's right. I feel horribly ugly.
Yeah.
This is not working out. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just not gonna
Yeah.
go.
No, exactly. And it's also it's the body and beauty standards around especially feminine people where what they have to look like has to
Yeah.
appear in a mire to that kind of standard.
Yeah.
So like instead of people feeling great and confident in themselves, they're kind of shielding themselves from that.
Yes. Yeah. That was truly the most disturbing part of the movie, and there was no body horror or like gross things or blood at all.
It was like the
Um,
most important scene,
yeah,
I think, in the film. Really drives it home in a very
yeah.
simple way.
Yes, it was so good. And Demi Moore in that scene, oh my gosh, she was breaking my heart. She was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that scene specifically, I was like, oh my gosh. And then um also, I appreciated the amount of blood
In the end,
at the
too.
end. So much blood,
Well, because I think it
and I
also.
love a movie where they got women covered in blood.
Yeah. Because I also think, in addition to the theme and stuff, like her bleeding out and all this stuff and everything going where it's gonna get on to them. So, like, this whole. It's.
Eliza Sue.
Eliza Sue is.
Yeah, at the end, Elizabeth is killed by Sue, and Sue, since they are one, Sue starts falling apart, like literally her are falling out, her ear
Ears
fall
falls
off.
off.
So then she's like, "Oh, I'll just make another one of me," because she still has the substance, like injection. So she tries to make a better version of herself. It ends up not working because it is one use. It says it on the bottle and it says it in all the directions. And then when the other one comes out, it's like a like a monster, like mashed up version of Elizabeth and Sue, and it's Eliza Sue. And, and I love Eliza Sue. She was so sweet.
Yeah.
Like so like cute. Like in a weird like a weird way, because like, you know, she was like getting ready to go.
She
And
just
like,
wanted to go to this. She just wanted to host the New Year's Eve
I
thing.
know, Eliza Sue. I have to add her too.
I was literally just about to say, you better add her
Yeah,
to.
I will.
Okay.
I will. That's for later things. That's for things you guys will hear about later. But yeah, Eliza Sue breaking my heart. She was a little sweetie pie, even though she needed to go. It's one of those. It's an old Yeller situation.
Yeah, and also I feel like it was really interesting that she essentially just wanted to be Elizabeth in the end.
Yeah,
Like she just wanted. She had.
yeah, because she put Elizabeth's face like over her monster face. She did give birth to a boob. Eliza Sue gave birth to a boob. You know what? As Shrek says, better out than in. So
Better out and in, I always say.
and she needed to get the boob out of her. She was birthing a boob out of her like mouth orifice. I don't know if it was her mouth. I think it was like a side. It was a big hole like here, and a boob came out of it. And I mean that so literally, guys. If you haven't seen the movie, a boob comes out of a hole in her face.
You know what it is? I think it was her, like a hole in a nose.
Nose. It came out of her nose. And you know what?
Well, because
better out than in. But
well, because I was just thinking about that line where the guy's like, "I'd rather have her boobs where her nose is."
You're so right. You're so right.
Thank you. I tried.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm trying to think about other things that happen. Oh yeah, Sue has like weird superhuman strength.
Oh yeah, that was one of my things where I was like, why does she suddenly have superhuman strength?
But I didn't hate it
because it was the substance. Like
I don't know. Does it do that?
I don't know.
I don't know. It was. I don't know. I thought I picked that out, and I was like, for some reason, I don't think this is weird. Also, I know I can't do this because it's too late. But for Halloween, I want to be like old woman, drained Elizabeth whenever she's like dragging Sue around. I want to. That scene cracks me up, it's so funny
because she like just does not care about Sue at
Her
all.
running.
Just like
and then Sue's head bouncing off the stairs.
I'm really hoping that was a dummy Margaret Qualley instead of actually.
It looked like her.
Well, yeah, I know. But
It just might have not been like
a it was probably a silicone, probably.
I don't know if they had that much money to do that for this movie. This movie didn't seem like it had a huge budget. It might have been like the stairs were replaced with something softer or like something like that. I don't know. I don't know how they do that. I don't know how they do that. But the scene was funny. And then yeah, there were so many like good ways that lines were read in this movie, like the control yourself thing, and then like when Elizabeth is watching the late night show that Sue is on, and she's like she's like tell them how you really got it. You got it from this, and she like flashes the TV.
It's amazing.
Yeah, Demi Moore. Oh, you're so. Or whenever, the guy across the hall who was awful, Oliver. Yeah, he was hitting on Sue disgustingly the entire time. And what does she say when Elizabeth like exits and yells at him?
I think she says "fuck you."
It's so great, but the way that Demi Moore says it is just like perfect. It was great. Lots of butts.
Yeah.
Lots of butts in this movie. I didn't notice the first time. This time I was like, there is a lot. I have seen more of Margaret Qualley's butt than my own at this point. In this year.
Yeah.
In this year, truly, because also Kinds of Kindness.
And then, well, is she naked in Poor Things?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I don't remember. I loved Poor Things, but I don't remember.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I've seen more of her butt this year than I've seen of my own. And you know what? There are worse butts for me to have seen more.
Well, yeah, I was thinking the same thing with like Demi Moore. I was like,
yeah. It was truly absurd the entire time for me to be like, I'm like literally like it was just like heartbreaking because you're just like, but you're Demi Moore, you know.
And I think that's the kind of like
yeah because like something interesting that like just that reminds me of this that just happened is that people are saying, the streets are saying that Chris Hemsworth is about to be Prince Charming in a Prince Charming solo movie, which I don't know why we needed a Prince Charming solo movie, but sure, whatever, I guess. And people are like, if this was a Cinderella solo movie, then they would never cast somebody as old as Chris Hemsworth because of the double standards of like women in Hollywood versus men in Hollywood. Men are allowed to age, women are not. And they really push that in this movie. But I think they do it in a great way. Yeah, very topical.
Very topical.
Very topical. Very good. Done in a great way. I liked the editing and I liked the cinematography choices because I think it adds to it all.
I agree.
It is supposed to make you uncomfortable. And there were lots of people who were complaining and being like, I didn't like the choices because it made me uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, the movie's supposed to make you uncomfortable. Sorry, the movie's supposed to make you uncomfortable. I highly recommend it though. If you like body horror, if you like good writing, good acting.
Yeah, because it won Best Screenplay at Cannes, which I did not know about until the movie started. I was like, now that makes sense.
I keep up with the festival circuit, so I know that stuff, but like I don't know. It's so good. Like I know that there are people like avoiding this movie because of what they've heard, because the last 20 minutes are wild, and I can see it being like too much.
Yeah.
For some people, but like I recommend it.
Yeah.
despite the last 20 minutes. And it's so easy to get up and leave if you start to feel overwhelmed. Like, you won't miss like huge plot stuff if like you need to excuse yourself last 20 minutes of the movie, because it is a lot. And if
Yeah.
you're not a huge blood person, or like just body horror in general, like, because they ham it up.
Yeah.
Last 20 minutes they said, let's pull out all the cards. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the last, how we ended the movie, how we
I
started the
do.
movie.
I like that too. And I also like that because originally I was waiting for her to get run over because I was like, it just seems like that's gonna happen. But then she just like fades away, and I'm like, that's good. At least she's peaceful. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
it was sad.
yeah, it was
It
sad.
was still sad though, like that she even like faded away. How are they gonna explain that?
No.
Like,
Oh yeah.
like I'm just talking about like logistics wise, like in world. It's like, does she disappear? Are they like, Elizabeth disappeared and Sue too?
Yeah, like does the world
Because the world doesn't know. There's only 2 people who took the substance, at least there.
at least in
It
California, but
in
like
that time, at least, because I don't know if this was the thing before or like whatever. Because the guy, that nurse guy, that's also my thing. How'd that guy get a job
which
as a
one?
nurse? The guy who recommended her the
Oh.
substance.
Oh, well, because it's
Because you
yeah.
have to do like week off and on, and like,
Yeah. I just think it's really yeah, I don't know.
I wonder how he found out about it,
That's what I like. That's why I think it would be really interesting.
or if he works for them, because he recruited.
Oh,
He said like,
he
he was
gave
like,
it.
oh, you'd be a good candidate, and he knew like what to check and stuff.
Oh yeah, because it was
He
the
was like checking her
spine.
spine, and like was like, you're a good candidate. And then yeah. We'll never know, and I'm okay with not knowing.
I'm okay.
I don't
with
need a
not-
sequel, anything like that. If they do, then like, sure, fine, whatever. But
If
like,
they do like a sequel
or a prequel,
I would be down with a prequel or spin-off where it's just like someone else.
well, yeah, you have to. They're gone. Elizabeth and
No,
Sue
no, no.
and Eliza Sue are.
Eliza Sue comes out of the shadows, is like, I'm recruiting a team.
And it's the Avengers. Eliza Sue is Nick Fury. And now that I've spoken that into existence, that in an alternate universe, that is actually a thing. And it all turns back around to Marvel, as it always does.
Yeah, wait, that's okay. This is so off topic, but kind of on topic. I saw a review, I think I showed it to you, about The Apprentice, where someone was like, so Kieran Culkin is in Home Alone 2. Donald Trump makes a cameo in Home Alone 2. Kieran Culkin is in Succession with Jeremy Strong. Jeremy Strong is in the Apprentice movie with Sebastian Stan as Trump. And so I just thought it was really funny that just comes all back around for Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Oh, yes. All right.
Okay.
The Substance, Pop Culture High. Pop Culture High. I'm not even going to say.
Yeah.
Pop Culture.
No.
It is a Pop Culture High. It is so good.
So good.
So good. Saw it twice. It's getting put on VOD soon, so if you can't go to the theater or whatever, then soon it'll be accessible for your enjoyment or non-enjoyment. Mm-hmm. I guess some people really didn't like it, which makes me sad.
Of course, your opinion is your opinion, but also
you're wrong. Your opinion is your opinion.
Have you seen any of these movies? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Were you one of the people that didn't like the substance or it made you uncomfortable? Go ahead, geek out in the comments about it, or go over on our socials. Those links are in the description. And if you prefer to listen to this show on another platform, there are links to alternative platforms in the description as well. Also, follow Zive Media on all social media platforms for more great content. We'll catch you back
there you
here.
go.
We'll catch you back here in the hive next week. But until then, please take care of yourselves. Don't take the substance. And we have been Hives and Lows.
Wahoo!
Wahoo!
Wahoo!